The Nightingale. There once lived an emperor in China. His palace was the most beautiful palace in the world. The walls were made of porcelain, and his gardens had the prettiest, most delicate flowers. People around the world heard about the emperor's palace and his gardens. In one of the emperor's gardens lived a nightingale. This nightingale sang such beautiful songs that it became quite famous. Even the emperor in Japan wrote a book about this nightingale. But the emperor in China had never seen the bird or heard it.
Everyone tells me about this nightingale that sings so beautifully. They say the bird is the best thing I have in my kingdom. How come I haven't seen it yet?
I have not seen it either, Your Majesty.
I want you to go and find the nightingale. Bring the bird to me. I must listen to it sing this evening.
And so the minister went everywhere, asking about the nightingale. Finally, he talked with a kitchen maid who knew where the nightingale lived.
Can you take me to the nightingale?
Yes, my lord. It lives in a large, beautiful tree in the woods at the far end of the emperor's garden.
Then show us the way.
The minister took his servants with him to see the nightingale. They found the nightingale exactly where the kitchen maid said it lived.
Nightingale, dear Nightingale, the emperor wishes to hear you sing. It will be my pleasure to sing for the emperor.
And the nightingale began to sing.
Why, it's the most beautiful thing I have ever heard. It sounds like little bells ringing. How wonderful! Dear Nightingale, I have the pleasure of inviting you to sing at the palace of the great emperor this evening. Won't you please come with us?
I sing better in the woods, but yes, I will come with you.
The palace was decorated beautifully for this occasion. A golden perch was put in the middle of the great room for the nightingale. Everyone had on their best dress. The emperor was ready to hear the nightingale, and so the little nightingale began to sing.
Oh, I have never heard anything more beautiful. Look, I have tears rolling down my cheeks. Dear Nightingale, what can I give you to reward you for singing so beautifully?
Dear Emperor, you have given me the greatest reward. I have seen your tears. You have honored me by being so touched by my songs.
You must live in the palace with me. We will build a special cage for you, and you can go out 3 times a day. You will have a silk string around your leg when you are let out.
The nightingale did not like that very much. He did not want to live in a cage. He wanted to be free. One day the emperor received a large package. It was from the Emperor of Japan. The package had "The Nightingale" written on it.
What is this? Open this package right away.
Your Majesty, it's an artificial nightingale. How amazing! Look at all the beautiful jewels on the bird. Let me wind this up. Ah, listen to the beautiful music.
We must have the two nightingales sing together.
But the real nightingale did not sing well with the artificial one. The real nightingale sang naturally, while the artificial bird sang only waltzes.
No problem. Wind up this beautiful nightingale again. Let me hear its songs.
And so everyone in the palace heard the artificial nightingale sing waltzes. They loved the sparkle of the jewels on the bird as it twirled around and wagged its tail. While everyone paid attention to the artificial nightingale, the real nightingale saw an open window and flew out.
Where is the real nightingale?
It must have flown out the window, Your Majesty.
How strange. Well, it doesn't matter. We have another nightingale to listen to now, and see how well it sings.
After this, nobody wanted the real nightingale to come back to the palace. The emperor and the people loved to hear the artificial nightingale sing. They loved to see all the jewels sparkle in the light. After a year, everyone knew all the songs this artificial nightingale could sing. Still, they wanted to hear it sing every day. Then one day, a spring in the artificial bird cracked while the emperor was winding it up.
What happened? Why won't the bird sing anymore? Servants, call the watchmaker at once.
Here I am, Your Majesty. Let me look at the nightingale. It seems the spring has broken. The bird has been wound up so much. I'm afraid I can't fix it. It must not be played so often.
And so the artificial nightingale could only be played once a year. And with great care, because it was so fragile, the people were very sad. Then something even sadder happened 5 years later. The emperor fell very ill. No one thought he would live. Even the doctor thought he would die soon. And as the emperor lay on his bed, death came to visit.
Who are you? Why are you wearing my crown?
I am Death. I have come to take you with me soon. First, I'm going to show you all the good things and ugly things you did in your life.
I don't want to listen to you. Nightingale, sing your songs. Someone come and wind up this bird.
But nobody heard the emperor. The artificial bird just stood still with all its beautiful jewels sparkling. Suddenly, the real nightingale flew and sat on a branch right outside the open window in the emperor's bedroom, and he began to sing.
I know that sound. How beautiful. It's been so long since I heard anything so wonderful.
Yes, it is beautiful. Go on, little nightingale. Keep on singing.
Will you give me the emperor's crown if I sing for you?
Death took off the emperor's crown from his head, and the nightingale sang beautiful songs. He sang about the quiet churchyard and its cemetery. He sang about the sweet-smelling roses that grew around the gravestones. And when Death heard all this, he wanted to go back to his gardens. So Death left the emperor.
Nightingale, how can I thank you? Just to hear your songs is making me strong again. Look, I can sit up all by myself. How can I reward you?
You have already rewarded me. I will never forget the tears you shed as you heard me sing those many years ago.
Nightingale, you must stay with me forever, but I won't put you in a cage. You shall sing only when you want to.
I cannot live in the palace, but let me come to you and sing to you whenever I like. I will sit on this branch and sing to you about the people in your kingdom. I will sing to you about those who are happy and about those who suffer. I will sing to you about the good and the bad things done in your kingdom. I love your heart, dear Emperor, more than your crown. But you must promise me one thing.
I will do anything for you.
Don't tell anyone that you have a little bird who tells you everything. Some things are better left unsaid.
And the nightingale flew away. The servants came into the emperor's room that morning, thinking that he was dead. But the emperor wasn't dead. They saw him standing in front of them, smiling.
Good morning, servants.
The Little Match Girl. It was a very cold winter evening. In fact, it was New Year's Eve, the last day of the year. People walked quickly on the street because it was so cold. They wore thick coats, hats, and scarves. But there was one little girl who had no coat. Her clothes were ragged and thin, and she had no shoes. The slippers she had on when she left her home were too large for her, and she lost them in the snow. Her little hands and feet were red from the cold. She had on a small apron that had a large pocket. The pocket was filled with matches. She sold matches for a few pennies. But nobody bought any matches from her that night, not a single one. As she walked slowly on the busy street, she could see all the lights from the warm houses. She could also smell the wonderful food people were cooking. Oh, if only she could have something warm to eat. She was so hungry. Cold as she was, she could not go home. Her father would be very angry that she did not sell any matches. Besides, her home was not warm at all. Her family lived in a tiny house with a bare floor and thin walls. to snow, and the little match girl walked over to a building and sat down on the ground. She leaned against one of the walls. She tucked her feet in, but they were so cold she could not feel them any more. The little match girl took one match from her apron and lit it. The flame from the match was very bright and strong. How it sparkled! Then she saw something strange. She saw a large iron stove that looked very warm. Oh, how warm that stove looked to the little girl! She stretched out her hands and feet toward the stove. But the stove disappeared into the darkness. All she had left was a burnt match in her hand. The little girl lit another match. The flame burned bright and strong again. She held the match against the wall, and it seemed like she could see right through the wall. The little girl saw a large table set with the most delicious food. The roast goose looked deliciously juicy. Then something amazing happened. The roast goose got up from the table and came toward her with a fork and a knife stuck on its back. And just when the little girl thought she could touch the goose, the match went out and everything was dark again. The wall was cold and dark. The little girl struck another match. This time she saw a beautiful Christmas tree, all lit up with hundreds of candles. It was large and so beautiful. All the candles sparkled in the night air. When the little girl stretched out her hand to touch the tree, the match she was holding went out. But she saw the candles rise up to the sky and become stars. One of the stars fell, leaving a trail of light across the night sky. "Someone must be dying," said the little girl. Her grandmother once told her that when a star fell, a soul went up to God. Oh, how she missed her loving grandmother. She was the only one who had ever shown her love and kindness. She lit another match. The light shone everywhere. And in the middle of the light, she saw her beloved grandmother. The little girl could see her so clearly. She saw her grandmother's loving smile. "Oh, Grandma!" the little girl cried out. "Please don't leave me. Please take me with you, Grandma. I know you will disappear as soon as my match goes out, just like that stove, the delicious roast goose, and the wonderful Christmas tree." Quickly, the girl struck all the matches she had in her little apron. The matches burned brilliantly. Light sparkled everywhere around her. She saw her grandmother grow larger and clearer and so beautiful. Her grandmother reached down and lifted the little girl. They flew high up, higher and higher into the light. They flew to a place where the little girl would never feel hungry or cold or afraid. She and her grandmother were with God in heaven. The next morning, on New Year's Day, the little girl was found sitting against a building. She had died in the night. There was a smile on her little face. In her hand were all the matches she burned. People said she lit them to keep herself warm. But nobody knew what wonderful things the little match girl had seen. They did not know how happy the little match girl was when she went into the arms of her grandmother and went to be with God forever.